Hey there, Wasteland travelers. This is Caedo Genesis, bringing another Caedo's Countdowns. At this point, I've gone over many of the strongest weapons in Fallout New Vegas. This time I'd like to go over something that doesn't get nearly as much love as the firearms in New Vegas, and that would be the explosives that you toss and throw. You know what they say, mess with the Caedo, get the Grenado.
I know it's not a thing, but I want to make it a thing. Check out the shirt below.
The criteria for this will simply be based on the raw damage of their explosion. Bigger booms means higher on the list. If you didn't know, I happen to make guides on Fallout as well. So along with telling you the destructive power of these explosives, I'll be also revealing where you can find them and or how you can craft them. So now, without waiting any longer, these are the 10 most powerful, collateral-causing, shrapnel-spitting, limb-jibbing explosives in Fallout New Vegas. The first one will start kind of basic. Take some plasma, press it into a disc form, and you have a plasma mine. That's how they're made, right? Probably not, but that's how I like to imagine it. Plasma mines have an explosive damage of 150 at base, and when placed on the ground like any other mine, enemies detected in a small radius around said mine will be greeted by a blast of plasma. Something strange that I noticed with plasma weapons in general is that the radius of at least their blast visual seems to change between extremely big and normal. It could have been that I was just throwing mines too willy-nilly, but I think that's worth experimenting on. Also, like other explosives that you can prime, these can be planted on individuals via pickpocketing, and a few seconds later will become a lime-flavored beacon. Now for where you can pick up some plasma mines if you're looking to use them yourself. These can sometimes be found in mine crates, the crates that contain mines. There are also several on display at the Van Graff's Silver Rush in Freeside, but they might need to be stolen because they're not technically part of the wares that Gloria has for sale. Vendors like Gloria and Torres and the Brotherhood of Steel Bunker might also have plasma mines in their store inventory, so keep an eye out if you're looking for them. A step up from the previous entry and a returning favorite, or dread depending on which side of these mines you're on. I'm talking about the Bottlecap Mine. These were introduced with Fallout 3 and reduced a little bit in power in New Vegas. The Bottlecap Mine's explosive base power is 200, 50 higher than the Plasma Mine. Like a mine does, these also have a proximity trigger. Once placed on the ground, the Bottlecap Mine starts beeping when an enemy is within range, and then after so many seconds, detonates. Because the Bottlecap Mine and another on this list have a different arming animation than other mines, it takes a little bit longer to place them. So that should be factored in as well if you're choosing to mass place mines. Just know that it'll take longer with Bottlecap Mines. Now for how to get them. Bottlecap Mines are one of many craftable explosives at the workbench. The materials you'll need are a lunchbox, some bottle caps, a sensor module, and some cherry bombs. That last one being one of the most annoying to find. The base recipe requires an explosive skill of 75, but if you have an explosive skill of 85 and the Mad Bomber perk, thanks to Gunrunner's Arsenal, you'll be able to craft the efficient version of the Bottlecap Mine, which requires 2 less bottle caps and 2 less cherry bombs to create. The efficient version seems like a correction after the vanilla game, while still leaving the original recipe. If you haven't built up your explosive skill to at least 75, you will sometimes be able to purchase them from the Great Khan Armorers, if you're friendly with them, of course. There is also a armed Bottlecap Mine in Ranger Station Charlie, after Ranger Andy Novak asks you to go check on the place. The first grenade we go over is the Plasma Grenade. You would think the opposite, but it actually does more damage than the Plasma Mine. Quite a bit more, actually. The Plasma Grenade's explosive damage starts at 225. Thanks to also being plasma, these grenades have the potential to turn enemies into glowing green goo, as well as remove limbs, as explosives like to do. AP cost with these comes into play as well, since grenades can be thrown in vats. But something you can grow to expect is a cost of 24 AP per throw, because that's pretty much what all grenades cost to throw in vats across the board, except for tin and microfusion cell grenades, which neither of those are on this list. Looking to outfit yourself with some plasma grenades? They can be acquired either by stealing or purchasing from the mess hall and munitions storage area at Nellis Air Force Base, home of the Boomers. The Silver Rush is also a place you can get them, again by stealing or purchasing, and sometimes if you're traveling around in the Divide in the Lonesome Road DLC, marked men can have these on them if they didn't throw them at you already. Now things are about to get interesting. This entry caused me to discover something I didn't know about New Vegas, so I'll share it with you now. Number 7, but 4th listed, is C4, plastic explosives, and by extension, of course, the detonator that you use to set them off. The C4's base explosive potential is 250 damage. Because C4 doesn't have a proximity trigger, it can be used to increase the explosive potential of something you've already placed. Say you place down a Bottlecap Mine and then place some C4 next to it, that'll understandably increase the damage you're dealing. If you have a nice stack of C4, you can throw down a whole bunch and then detonate all of them at one time, if you have the detonator on you. But here is the thing that I learned. Oh nope, they're still here.
Nice.
Oh my god!
Oh my goodness! I can't believe it!
Ah! I didn't know this!
I didn't know this either. Oh my god, I can.
When you plant C4 on an NPC, it will still be primed, but it will not go off after so many seconds, like other explosives do, and requires you using your detonator. I would like to mention that once I discovered this, I took it to the extreme. Went to a couple populated areas and planted C4 on everyone there. Flipping the switch was glorious. So if that's something you didn't know, it brings me joy that you know now. Because the C4 plastic explosive and detonator are kind of a two-part deal, I'll go over locations where you can find both. Chet in Goodsprings actually has a chance of selling both C4 and a detonator. If you've made it all the way to the Lucky 38, there's a briefcase in the Lucky 38 cocktail lounge with a hard lock that you can lockpick that has 3 C4 and 1 detonator in it. Cliff Briscoe in the Dinobite gift shop in Novak can randomly have both detonators and C4 in his inventory, just like Chet. And finally, the arms dealer at the 188 trading post carries both detonators and plastic explosives at times. For the rest, there is way too many to list, but that'll help get you started as a downtown demolitionist. Satchel charges have the same damage as C4 at the start at 250, and are a dime a dozen in the Lonesome Road DLC. Another way to measure the satchel charges is just saying 2.5 frag mines, with the same standard explosion. There is one thing that makes the satchel charges a little more deadly besides just their damage increase, and that is the reduced fuse timer that they have. If you have a higher explosive skill, walking into range of a satchel charge will still set it off in a very short time. There are quite a few ways to get satchel charges, most of them in the Lonesome Road expansion in the Divide. However, simply having the DLC will allow you to craft them at a workbench with an explosive skill of 25, requiring some basic materials: 25 lead, 25 pistol powder, or powder, pistol as it's displayed, 1 scrap electronics, and 1 sensor module. Satchel charges can also be created from scratch by Eddie after you've picked up the Camaraderie perk rank 2 and passed 2 explosive skill checks during dialogue. Doing this little exercise with Eddie will let you make 3 satchel charges per day. Throughout the Divide, you will find them on the ground, needing to be disarmed, naturally, and found in containers called Satchel Charge Box. By the end, I'm sure you'll have more satchel charges than you know what to do with. In Fallout 3, this was responsible for many deaths of Wasteland bad guys, and is forever known as the Nuka-Grenade. Unfortunately, from Fallout 3 to Fallout New Vegas, there was a damage reduction, like with the Bottlecap Mine, from 501 damage down to 350 for the Nuka-Grenade. It's still good. It's still really good. And also retains its damage over time effect of burning the target for 2 damage per second for 5 seconds. This grenade can be thrown in and outside of vats, and thanks to it being a fire-oriented explosive, critical hits with the Nuka-Grenade can create a burning bloody mess combo effect. For what is required to create these grenades, they are well worth the time finding the materials. And I recommend saving these Nuka-Grenades for the big stuff that you come across in the Wasteland, like Yao Guai in Zion Canyon, Deathclaws and Cazadors. Nuka-Grenades will help. Now for the crafting side, here's what you need: a workbench, an explosive skill of 60, the Mad Bomber perk from the GRA add-on, and the materials you need to create 1 Nuka-Grenade is 1 Abraxo cleaner, 1 Nuka-Cola quartz, 1 tin can, and 1 turpentine. Most of those things are household items and found pretty much everywhere, but there is a finite number of Nuka-Cola quartz in Fallout New Vegas, unless you've gotten yourself the Nuka Chemist perk. At level 22 and a science of 90, you can get Nuka Chemist, which lets you craft the special Nuka-Cola recipes out of basic ones. 3 Nuka-Cola Classic can be crafted into 1 Nuka-Cola Quartz. Beyond crafting these grenades yourself, sometimes the Vendortron at the Gunrunners might be selling these too. So if you're not willing to jump through that many hoops, you still have them available to you if you'd like to at least try them out. Yet another explosive plaything thanks to Gunrunner's arsenal. We have the Time Bomb High Yield, a massively improved version of the Time Bomb. Where the regular Time Bomb did a measly 150 damage, this one deals 400. But something both variants do have in common is that they require a little more finesse to use. You're not flipping a switch, there's no proximity, and you're not chucking it. It's placed at your feet like a mine and comes with a 15-second timer that cannot be disarmed once placed. The weird part is though, once you plant it on an NPC via pickpocketing, you'll get the normal duration for that. I think it's like 3 seconds or something. From what I noticed too with my extensive testing, you can't see me using air quotes, I'm using air quotes right now. It's not just high yield in name. The area of this explosion is big. And from what I could tell, the physics side of it is even bigger. I would place some high yield time bombs in a couple of rooms away when messing with the Fiends of Vault 3, and bodies in the rooms that I was in were flying up and hitting the walls. So that's fun. Another fun benefit to the time bombs is that you have plenty of time to leave the scene of the crime before it happens. So you can stealth kill with time bombs. It's super backwards, I know. In Fallout 2, it used to put you in combat immediately if you put a bomb like on the ground next to someone. But in New Vegas, anything goes. At least it seems that way. Time Bomb High Yield is another Mad Bomber weapon, and unfortunately not available from vendors this time. What you'll need to create it is a workbench, an explosive skill of 70, and the Mad Bomber perk, of course. And the materials you'll need are 1 duct tape, 6 dynamite, 1 egg timer, and 1 scrap electronics. If you had made friends with the powder gangers, you might actually have an easier time making time bombs, because that's one of the most reliable sources of dynamite. Real fun, high yield time bombs. Speaking of real fun, it's just getting more and more ridiculous as we go. The Microfusion Cell Cluster. This is a weird freaking hybrid between thrown grenades and dropped explosives. There is no weapon like the Microfusion Cell Cluster. It is called a MFC Cluster because it's 6 Microfusion Cell Grenades all strapped together that you throw all at once. Each of the grenades in the cluster do 75 damage. If they all explode and hit their target, they will take a total of 450 damage. That's starting damage without any perk modifiers. Now with the weird nuance, this is unable to be thrown in vats, because they still control like mines. Despite this, you can still hold down your attack button to throw them further. The Microfusion Cell Cluster bomblets will start to explode after they're in proximity to a target. Knowing that, and if you know somebody is going to be walking in a certain pattern, you can throw a bunch of these on the ground where you know they're going to be, and walk away, leaving a frame rate crushing green shockwave in your wake. Yes, because it is 6 small grenades that you're throwing out at the same time. Along with destroying your target, it destroys your game's performance too. One last detail, because these are basically mines after thrown, you can disarm and pick them up separately as Microfusion Cell Grenades, which in single form operate just like grenades do. As you could probably guess with the theme of the Mad Bomber stuff happening, the Mad Bomber perk is required to create Microfusion Cell Clusters, and they're not purchasable anywhere else. To make them, you need a workbench and an explosive skill of 70. For a wonderful turn, in terms of materials, Microfusion Cell Clusters are some of the easiest to put together, requiring 1 duct tape, 18 Microfusion cells, and 2 scrap electronics. If you're not using Microfusion cells for anything else, this is absolutely something you should be using them on if you can. You all know the Fat Man at this point, the mini nukes that are launched out of it. Well, this is the Fat Mine. It's just a mini nuke rigged up with a proximity sensor. The funny part about this is that the Fat Mine's base explosive power is the same as a full hit from the MFC Cluster, 450. But its impact when you love tap somebody with it as if you want to be that close is 5 instead of 1. Even though this does hit really hard too, firing the mini nuke out of a Fat Man will still do more damage. But the Fat Man doesn't allow for as much planning either. I'm still going to try to make it sound awesome though. It's a mini nuke, its area of effect is going to be huge. Overall, I'd just say be careful when you're using the backpedal strategy that a lot of us use when dropping mines and being chased at the same time. If you're caught in the blast of the Fat Mine, you may kill your enemy, but you will also likely die. One more perk or quirk depending on what you want to call it, of the Fat Mine, is that it is an improved holdout weapon, meaning if you have a sneak skill of 50 or higher, you can sneak this into casinos, and is the most powerful holdout weapon in the game. The creation of the Fat Mine is no small task, as you would expect. A workbench and an explosive skill of 80, along with the Mad Bomber perk, is required, and the materials needed are 1 sensor module, 1 scrap electronics, 1 scrap metal, and 1 mini nuke. Crafting is the only way you will be able to have a Fat Mine in your possession, when playing normally, that is. Haha, omissions time. These ones are boring compared to everything else we've gone over. The Pulse Grenade and Pulse Mine. The base explosive power of Pulse Mines and Pulse Grenades? 10. It's 10. Unless you're fighting against robots or those in power armor. And if that's the case, the numbers are all over the place. 80 damage against those in power armor, 100 against robots in Big Mountain, and 200 against robots outside of Big Mountain. Okay, omissions out of the way. Now for the final, most powerful explosive. Did you guess it, or did you just skip to the end? I won't judge you, don't worry about it. The number 1 most powerful explosive in Fallout New Vegas is the Holy Frag Grenade. Its explosive damage is 800, almost twice that of the Fat Mine. I'm glad there's a limited number of these in the game, kind of making them unique, because the Holy Frag Grenade is unnecessary for how much damage it does. Completely unnecessary. But one-shotting things does feel nice. Visually, the difference between the Holy Frag Grenade and the standard frag grenade is the white cross that is drawn, also denoting a strong repeated reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, something that's been appreciated for a pretty long time in the Fallout franchise. There are a couple of requirements to get the Holy Frag Grenades. The first is having the Wild Wasteland trait. This is required, since otherwise the Holy Frag Grenades will not spawn. If you have Wild Wasteland, your destination will be Camp Searchlight, a former NCR base of operations on the south side of the Mojave. There are 2 churches here, and the one on the east side has a basement that you can use a hatch to enter. This basement is protected by a couple of golden geckos. On the tables, pretty much in the middle of the room, will be 2 small crates. One with a cute little sign with a revision on how long to count when you pull the pin, and in the other crate will be 3 Holy Frag Grenades. What is your favorite explosive to use in Fallout New Vegas? In Fallout in general, even. And is there anything you expected to be on this list that wasn't? Please share in the comments. Check out that Grenado shirt that I mentioned earlier. The Teespring shelf down below has it, and there will be a link in the description too if you need to do it that way. If you found this video useful, entertaining, or somewhere in between, do whatever you see fit to show that. Thanks to Wasteland Legend Sven for supporting the channel through Patreon. Thanks to Leroy, my Discord moderator, for his amazing reaction to the C4 thing. And thank you for watching. I'm Caedo Genesis, and may you wander the wasteland like you own it.